Admiral Paparo, welcome to the Reagan Library. Thank you very much for being here. You're the 27th Commander of U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. In this role, which is rather sweeping, you oversee 380,000 soldiers, sailors, Marines, Airmen, Guardsmen, Coast Guardsmen, and Department of Defense civilians. So please tell us, if you would, explain to our audience briefly, what does it mean to do all that in practice?
Thank you, Dave. U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, just to put it in historical context, it is essentially the combined command of Chester Nimitz's command, Douglas MacArthur, and Lord Louis Mountbatten's command from the Second World War, founded in 1947. So the command is responsible for day-to-day deterrence of 4 of the 5 threats to the United States of America: the People's Republic of China, Russia's activities in the Pacific, North Korea, and violent extremist groups. And that force comprises over 60% of the joint operating force of the United States of America.
Well, as you pointed out, you are responsible for all U.S. military activities in the Indo-Pacific. That covers 36 nations, 14 time zones, 60% of the world's population. So how is INDOPACOM adapting its approach to the evolving threat and what is at times converging threats and malign influence from China, from Russia, North Korea? How do you do that?
That's well put. Presently, each are embarking on what are sometimes called no limits partnerships, where where one state has weaknesses, the other state has strengths. They're combining. Where one state is resource poor and the other state is technology poor, they're combining to combine in such a way to close those strengths. And it's a dangerous and a complex time. And it's a time where the United States and its allies, just by dint of the leaders that are in each, have very few offsets that we can make between one or the other. And so it's a time for our partnerships and alliances to be stronger than they ever are. And we are, in fact, seeing unprecedented bilateral relationships, multilateral relationships. Examples are the Republic of Korea, Japan, the United States, multilateral relationships, India, Japan, Australia, the United States, the so-called Quad, the so-called Squad, the Republic of the Philippines, Australia, Japan, the United States. These relationships among these would-be adversaries are driving formerly fraught relationships together in novel ways and in the ways that vis-a-vis alliances with the United States and our already inherent interoperability are making us stronger. They're leading to more and more effective interoperable exercises across wider geographies. And these are the ways how we're coping with these very concerning complexities.
Is it fair to say, in coordination with your State Department colleagues, of course, that you're doing a lot of military diplomacy?
Yes, yes, and without these partnerships interagency, I mean, this is the essence of integrated deterrence, to ensure that all instruments of American statecraft are coherent with one another. I would say that a lot of military diplomacy and these partnerships, these friendships. Our enemies are the greatest alliance makers that we've ever seen. They're just the wrong kind of alliances.
Understood. Well, you're privy to some of our nation's most sensitive information and analysis. So obviously at an unclassified level, what concerns you the most? Are there topics that are particularly important that maybe aren't getting the public attention that they deserve in the national conversation?
Well, I think few people realize just how significant, how grave conflict in the Western Pacific would be to the security and to the well-being of the American public. Just the interdependency of the economies of the Western Pacific, whether it is Taiwan, whether it is Japan, whether it's South Korea, our economies, the trade that goes through them, the knock-on effects on American economies, the contraction of our GDP, the effects of potential proliferation that would result from that. All of that just really underscores the importance of a strong deterrent posture in the Indo-Pacific. And so this is why it's just so important for us every day to be on the job.
It's a perfect segue. You use the term strong. President Reagan once said, "We maintain the peace through our strength. Weakness only invites aggression." So what does peace through strength mean to you today in practice?
Deterrence is that combination of capability and will. Will can vary from time to time, but capability is constant. And so I think that is what President Reagan understood, is that intention without will equals nothing. And so President Reagan understood that. That's why it was so important for President Reagan to rebuild the United States military. I am one of the very few vestigial officers who can proudly say that I served under President Reagan when he was Commander-in-Chief. And so every day, our deterrent posture, the potential that America's military, the most powerful, capable military in the world, keeps the peace not just for 335 million Americans, but also for our allies and partners.
We're here at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library. As you just referenced, you entered service in 1987, still in President Reagan's presidency. More broadly, beyond peace through strength, what does Ronald Reagan mean to you today?
President Reagan, as most notably to me, he restored the esprit de corps of the United States military. The so-called hollow force of the United States military from the 1970s, some of the failed missions, some of the lack of readiness, the investments made under President Reagan's leadership. He restored living wages to the American service members, some of the advances for American families, military families, which are much underappreciated under President Reagan. And President Reagan restored our pride in our patriotism. There was a time in the 1970s when an officer serving in the National Capital Region had to commute to work in civilian clothes. That's not the case anymore. And so today, the American military, to be a military member, is the American military is among, if not the most respected institution in the United States of America. And I think that draws precisely and directly to the leadership of President Reagan.
Indeed, our Reagan Institute recent survey work has shown that the trust and respect in the U.S. military, it remains and endures as very strong. Last question. What called you to public service, and why is it important for young people to serve, whether in uniform or otherwise?
I served. I felt I owed a great debt to the country. I grew up in a working class family, and I received a great education, much to the generosity of the United States of America. My father had served, his brother had served, my uncles had served, all of my uncles had served. And I felt an obligation to serve to the country. And I wanted to become a better version myself. You know, I wanted to become a steely-eyed fighter pilot and go to Top Gun. And those opportunities were available to me and to anyone. And that's the story that I find among everyone that I meet in the military, is they love our country and they want to become better versions of themselves. They're running to become a better version of themselves through the lens of their patriotism. And that would be my message to young people is it doesn't turn you into another person, but it helps you become a better version of yourself. It gives us a stake in our country's success, in our family's success.
Admiral, we have the privilege of sitting here in President Reagan's office. What does it mean to you to physically be here in this office and more broadly here at the Reagan Library?
My dominant emotion is one of reverence. Reverence for President Reagan's presidency, reverence for his service to our country, reverence for just the gifts of his leadership throughout his presidency and really throughout all of his life of service to our country, and especially having served under his leadership as Commander-in-Chief and through the military that he rebuilt and we continue to reap the benefits of today. I'm here with a great deal of gratitude and reverence.
Powerful. Admiral Samuel Paparo, U.S. INDOPACOM Commander, thank you so much for joining us here at the Reagan Library.
Thank you, Dave.
Appreciate it.